Happy day, Abraham. Quickly, one clarification. Recently, I've noticed on the internet there are several folks who say they are channeling Abraham. And I thought you might be able to offer some criteria for those folks that are interested in knowing who Abraham is, how to discern.
Well, that answer is always the same. You can tell by the way you feel. In other words, if you've been listening to Abraham for a while, then you have discovered a vibrational resonance with that which we are. Anyone who sticks around for a while has come into vibrational alignment with who they are. And once you come into vibrational alignment with who you are, then you can feel if something else is in alignment or not. Jerry and Esther have found a little amusement about it because they are aware that some of what is being received from Abraham is actually something that Jerry wrote.
All right.
And so that's a little amusing to them because it's sort of like they're channeling the website rather than Abraham. But it is really no worry because there are so many well-meaning people. Long before they met us, Jerry was reading Seth material that Jane Roberts was receiving. And Esther didn't want him to bring it home. It was just spooky to her. And so Jerry sort of read it in private, and occasionally he'd tell Esther something, and she'd say, well, that feels all right to me. And eventually, Esther became eager and fascinated with what Jerry was reading. And then, after a year or so of that, someone said to them that there was a woman in town that they could ask questions, and as they described the process, Jerry realized that it was a similar process that was happening with this Seth material, and so they were eager to go. And when Jerry and Esther sat in that room, even though what was coming from Theo was very different terminology, they could feel the vibrational resonance of it. And so they knew that there was something there that was of value for them. And not long after that, Esther began meditating, and in her first meditation, she managed to bring herself through a breathing process into absence of resistance, enough so that we were able to flow through her in a powerful enough way that it got her attention. And then she meditated for several months and then began actually receiving dialogue from us. The reason that we're taking you through this progression is because we want to point out that once Esther actually attuned to the vibrational frequency that was us, the words that began to flow through her were not the same words that she had heard before. In other words, she is a vibrational interpreter. She is the finder of the words, you see. And that's really the most important thing for anyone who is receiving. They begin to find their own way of expressing it. It's not a mimicking of what was said before. Seth's words that Esther and Jerry learned and heard, that Esther has used as the description of blocks of thought that she receives from us. You create your own reality. That was the extent of the vocabulary that morphed from that process into what Jerry and Esther are about. You create your own reality. In fact, from the books that Jerry had been reading, Seth had said, or Jane had translated for Seth, you create your own reality and your point of power is in the present. And those were the two fascinating points to Jerry that were the basis of the questions that he asked. And everything that is Abraham has really sprung forth from those basic questions, you see. We would not spend any time trying to validate the authenticity of anyone else because everyone is authentic. Everyone is exactly who they are, and everyone is receiving exactly in vibrational countenance with that which they are. It is our desire that more and more of you are coming to realize that you are all extensions of source energy. In the beginning, Jerry was asking questions of Seth, and we said to him, Seth is here, ask Seth. And Jerry was beside himself. At times we said, Theo is here, ask Theo. And they were beside themselves. And there was a while that they weren't that sure that they wanted to talk to whoever this Abraham person was, because Seth had plenty to say about things that they'd already been reading about. But in time, as they realized that this was work that they were about, just to stop any confusion or any sense that there was something screwy going on, they very clearly understood that they were having an experience that was uniquely different from anything that those other people were living. And they made no effort at all to mimic it. They let it be what it was, you see. So we're not suggesting that there's any mimicking going on. We are suggesting that when you are receiving from source energy, you are not finding the words that have already been written. You are finding new explanation of it. In other words, you're tapping in to the leading edge. This is the time for branching out beyond what this is. In other words, this is the platform. Springboard from that. Don't go back and regurgitate what's already been written.
And so the value for anyone who is listening is in the meaning and the vibrational resonance they experience, more so than the name that's attached to the translation that's coming through.
Names or labels are irrelevant, as are words. But for point of conversation with others listening in, the words are of value. And so Jerry and Esther, the discomfort that they have with it is that they understand that the name Abraham is something that they have been a part of for a number of years. And they understand that there are people that are now coming to that name. And they know what's here when they get there. And they are uncomfortable with other people using the same title. When people get there, it might be different. And we say to Jerry and Esther, don't worry about it. Let law of attraction sort it out. Law of attraction will sort everything out. That's that feeling of trying to control things.
Right.
You cannot control, nor do you need to, nor should you want to. In other words, let law of attraction sort it out. Law of attraction sorts everything out. Be who you are, offer what you offer, and law of attraction will bring those to you who are ready for that which you are about. That's the way it has always been. And there is no label that we would say anyone should ever count on, because every label that exists, whether it's a name or a word, you mean all kinds of different things with it. We talked about love. A mother is saying, I love you, when her vibration is very different from that, you see.
Right.
So we think you've gotten right to the heart of it. Forget about the labels and let what you're feeling be your indication of whether something has value for you or not. You could pick up almost any book, and there would be things in the book that you would read that the source within you is resonating with, and things that the source within you is not resonating with. In other words, almost everything that exists, unless it has been truly, purely received, is that way. Even Esther today, who is allowing the energy of Abraham to dominate her, and so what you're receiving is not Esther. You are receiving Esther's translation of the vibration that is Abraham, but it's still Esther's translation of the vibration that is Abraham. We wish for all of you to go directly to your own source and do your own translating, you see. Good time for segment of life.